Tommy Rex, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and I am talking with the man himself from Cultus Black Legion. What's going on, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, man. Good. So yeah, man. We were chatting it up a little bit about some of the background decorations and the common loves that we have in with wrestling and Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. But I'm sure
you're a nerd too.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll come into play as the conversation goes on. But usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So do you remember originally what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Lead singer of a band.
Nice. Ever since out the womb, huh? You were
kind of. I mean, kind of had. There's pictures of me when I was, 5 or 6 years old on my grandparents' bed with a cane, acting like it's a microphone.
Nice.
And I like sang in church with my grandmother, which is kind of a stark contrast for what I've ended up doing. But I did that when I was very, very young. And I don't know. I always kind of had that in me, I guess. And if other things I considered doing were being a professional wrestler and an actor and an FBI agent because of the X-Files.
Nice. Awesome. Well, all right, cool. You just gave us a bunch of stuff that we could talk about, but I know we got to stay focused right now on the
Sure.
musical stuff. So, like, you said as a youngster you got to perform with your grandma in church and everything. But when was it that you started getting into like heavier music, and who were some of your earliest influences?
Well, I was actually talking about this just the other day that how to start this or to not make it extremely long. But I started getting into heavy music, I guess, about halfway through high school. So like sophomore year-ish, something like that. And, when I was in grade school and the first part of high school, I was a nerd and I was picked on and just didn't fit in at all. And then I started finding heavy music and I was like, wow, I can really identify with this. And then I started dressing all weird because I was into like Marilyn Manson and Nine Inch Nails and stuff. And so I started dressing weird. So I was basically a goth kid, more or less, back in the day. And then the people that were picking on me and thought I was just a nerd started being afraid of me, just based off of the way I dressed, really. And so then, like, through that music and aesthetic too, I was like, well, wait a minute, there's like some power here. Like, it's almost taking something where I was like picked on and a weakness and have made it into something that's strong and that people are afraid of. So I liked that a lot. So I leaned into it and I went down the rabbit hole, like most of us do. You go heavier and heavier and heavier. But I listened to everything, started out with Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn. Smashing Pumpkins really were my first favorite band. They're not metal exactly, but like rock band, alternative, whatever. But Smashing Pumpkins, and then Nine Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson, Korn, Slipknot, and then Cradle of Filth, and then like a little later on, like Whitechapel and bands like that, like got more in the deathcore. And so I started at one point and went further and further down the rabbit hole into heavier music. But I don't know. I really identified with something in that music, and I just kind of from that point on, it's just what I was into, and I just rolled with it. And I eventually decided that I wanted to start doing that too. So I did.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I just took my daughter to her first Marilyn Manson show. He was just in town here in Cleveland on Tuesday. So
Oh, really?
I've still been a big fan myself over all the years.
How was that show? Is he still entertaining? I know he went through a slump period there. Is he back
Yeah,
on?
no, I think he's back at peak, man. You know, I think the sobriety is definitely adding to giving him a new energy and stuff. He looked really good, and you know, it was a good set, man.
Well, good.
And then so as you started like gaining like your power and finding yourself, when was it that you started like actually, you know, finding like-minded friends and performing music?
Um, Took a while. You know, in high school there was a couple of people that I was friends with that were like kind of finding themselves too, but they weren't musically inclined. So and the first thing I did, of course, was try to like turn to one of those friends and be like, "Hey, let's start a band," you know. And they weren't musically inclined. So it just didn't work. So I looked for a while and couldn't find people to work with because let's also bear in mind I grew up in the sticks, like out in the middle of nowhere. You know, just there were not really many people that were into the kind of same kind of stuff as me. But so eventually I just started writing music by myself. And so I don't know exactly how old I was at this point, but in my teens, I like wrote a full album. It sucks. It's terrible, but I wrote a full album, and it's where I was at the time, you know. But I wrote a full album, and I like made all the artwork and everything, and recorded it myself, you know, like with a shitty computer at home, and then I like drove it out to like little shops and like released it, like gave it to them, like, hey, put this on your shelves, and they did. So I was in like 2 or 3 shops, and I felt like I was, you know, doing something. But I never could find anybody that would play any of that shit. Like I never could find anybody that would play any of it. And so some more. Then I was like, I'm just going to try to find a band to join, right? So then I started looking around at the periodicals or whatever, you know, like where people were posting about bands, and I just didn't fit in still, which was like kind of a theme of me, like, well, my whole life is I'm neither fish nor fowl. I just didn't really fit into anything exactly. And going and trying out for these bands, it was just evident. Like it didn't work. Like I just was not a good fit for any of these bands. And so then I started over again, and I started writing music by myself again. And this time I was writing heavier stuff, and it was a little bit better. And about this time I started going to a community college, and I met a guy there. His name was Jeremiah, and he was a bass player. And believe it or not, we actually were kind of like-minded. We liked a lot of the same kind of stuff. And at the time, the stuff I was writing, I didn't really have any desire to release it or do anything with it. I was just writing music. But he really pushed me. He's like, let's start a band. Like, let's do, because I was jaded already by this time. I was like, this is just pointless. But he really pushed me to start a band with it. So me and him found this other guy named Derek, guitarist. And so we just had like a little 3-piece. And then we started doing little shows and stuff. But that's kind of like the early days of me trying to start a band. It took me like my second project and lots end of it's fine. I was just wrapping up saying that it took me a while to find like-minded people.
But so when you did, and you were encouraged to play, you know, start a band and play out, like what was the scene like in that in the area that you guys started at?
Um, I started trying to do that down in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and the scene was not good. The scene in Raleigh, which is only like an hour and some change away from where I was at, was better, but I was still young and still didn't really know much about Raleigh and hadn't moved there yet. I was still living in the sticks. But at some point during this period of time, I did move up to Raleigh, and then it started to really kind of open up. Like the scene in Raleigh was pretty good actually, and we started getting shows. And like the first show that we played that like people were actually like a lot of people there was at a club called the Brewery in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is closed now, unfortunately, but they were around for a long time. But they did a dollar show, like a show that was like a dollar cover. And so there was a lot of people there and we killed it. And from that point on, we had a draw in North Carolina. Like every show we played, we had a draw. So by the way, the name of that band was Obsidian, which there are like 100 million bands named Obsidian now. But yeah, but that was my first band that actually did anything. And like the scene was, it was like starting to grow because as that band was going, the scene in Raleigh really, really did grow. Like there was quite a few good bands around here. You know, Between the Buried and Me had gotten big already, but they had just kind of gotten big like a couple of years before. And they had like a sister band called Glass Casket that we did a lot of shows with. We also played a lot with a band called Alisana, which is like a kind of a screamo band. But they're still popular to this day. Like they went on, got signed, and did the whole thing. Yeah, but lots of good bands.
Nice. And then when was it that as you started actually pursuing this and playing live and stuff, when do you feel you started getting into your groove?
Well, I fell in and out of my groove, I guess, because during that period of time, I really did feel like I was in my groove because we were killing it locally, but we had a hard time getting out of North Carolina. Like we were a very young band, and I was still very young and naive, and just didn't know how things worked. But had a hard time getting out of North Carolina, and we did a lot of stuff that was really stupid, like for a young band. Like we had a guy that was willing to invest some money into us, and we didn't know how to use it. So we just flubbed that. Like there's things we could have done with his money that would have really helped that we did not do because I didn't know what I was doing. And just being young and everybody's attitudes and stuff, you know, but I felt like we were doing well then. Then the band broke up again because of being young and attitudes and stupidity. And then I kind of was in flux for a while. I joined a couple of bands. I ended up, and this was kind of like a point where I'm like kind of getting on the other side of things where I ended up in a band called The Breathing Process from Connecticut, which is like a symphonic deathcore band.
Nice.
And they were signed to Candlelight Records, I think, at the time. I think it was Candlelight, or at least they had distribution through Candlelight. I can't remember. Either way, they were a signed band and they had a name with them and they were touring. So I felt like, oh boy, like I'm in a touring band now. I'm actually going to like do a real tour. So that was kind of one of those moments where it's like I'm going in the right direction, you know.
And then as you started getting those opportunities, how would you say you've started growing and learning the music industry?
It was really kind of a learning curve because I don't know. I think you kind of expect one thing and then things aren't always exactly as you foresee them, and things pretty much never go exactly the way you think they're going to go. When I was younger, I always thought by the time I'm 26 years old, I'm going to be like on the cover of magazines and I'm going to be like in the biggest fucking metal band in the world. You know, did not work out that way. Yeah, when I was in the Breathing Process and I was kind of learning how things work touring and realizing that it's, you know, not all that glamorous all the time, and not all the shows are going to have people there because like we played several shows that were shitty, and but we played some good shows too. So it was an up and down, goods and bads. But I think that the biggest thing that I took away from it was still, once again, that really at the end of the day, I wanted my own project. Like I feel weird like being in somebody else's project and not I don't know how to say it other than not being the leader, like not being the guy, you know? It just and I'm such a have so artistic minded and autistic that like not being able to just fully pursue what I wanted to do, you know, was a little
Yeah.
weird.
No, I
So
got it. You
yeah,
got that creativity, and you're like, how can I make this a reality? So I think I read something too. Did you have a stint in like Motograter as well?
yeah, I did.
Okay, and then so after the breathing process, and then getting to play, some of those shows with like Motograter. How did um any of that, like, I mean, did that just reaffirm what you just said, is like, man, I need to do my own thing, or
It
was there positives in that experience as
Oh,
well?
there was definitely positive. There's a lot of positive. And God, there's so much to say here. But uh I want to mention like kind of a little interim between breathing process and Motograter, that the way that I ended up in Motograter is a guy that I met that was trying out for my band like a couple of years earlier, like my band, my local band. And he didn't really fit the bill. Like he didn't work out, right? He didn't end up in the band, but I stayed in contact with him and I was nice to him and we were very friendly. And so here, a couple of years later, or however longer it was, he ended up doing a fill-in spot as a touring member of Motograter. And he became aware while he was out there that they were having trouble with their singer and they needed a singer. So he's like, oh, what about this guy? And sent him some of my stuff. And they're like, oh, this is really good. I ended up in Motograter because of that.
Nice.
So there's something to be said there for just being nice to people,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was gonna say, man. Just like, the networking power, and the just being kind, treating others how you want to be treated, goes a long way, especially in the, such a it's a huge industry, but it's not really, once
No,
you get to know
everybody
people.
knows everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
So
and if you're a piece of shit, you would never got that,
exactly.
opportunity.
If I was a dick to him and I was like, nope, you suck, goodbye, and never spoke to him again, I wouldn't have been in Motograter. And then a lot of this other shit that's happened afterwards wouldn't have happened either. So it's kind of freaky to think about, because there's all these like synchronistic moments in life for
Oh
all of
yeah,
us, I think. But
yeah,
so that's how I ended up over there. And you talk about good versus bad. The goods of that is all the people that I met there and all the shows that I played. Like that was a watershed moment for me getting in that band. Like I remember whenever I joined and I got like just huge influx of like friend requests, like ridiculous amount. And my name was all over the place and I was just making friends with all these people in the industry, like just that, like immediately. And I'm like, oh, now it's like this weird thing where it's like I was basically a local guy, and now I'm like peeking on the other side of the curtain, and like now I'm in this other world. So I owe that to Motograter, and I owe it to Michael too that he connected me there. There's lots of people that I owe that to, but it's just it's it was very instrumental in me being able to get on the other side of the curtain. But like I say, a lot of the people that I met, like I was able to tour with and make friends with bands that I grew up listening to, like bands that I kind of idolized when I was younger and like had little cutouts from magazines on my wall, or now I'm friends with and I'm touring with. And, the biggest thing for me for that was like getting the respect too, is like being recognized as an artist and a musician by these people that I grew up with was really, really a big deal for me, and I was important to me. So I value all of that greatly. So there was lots of good that came from that experience.
Nice. And then, talking about like, like you're saying, you're having your own artistic vision and knowing what you wanted to create. Let's talk about how Cultus Black came to be for you.
Yeah. So the negative from old Moto, and I really don't talk about Motograter a whole lot. We're talking about it here, and I've talked about it in a couple of interviews, but I never wanted to be one of those bands that's like, oh, it's this guy from this other band, featuring members of and stuff like that. I would rather make my own, and do my own thing and stand on my own merit rather than being like, oh, it's this, trying to piggyback off of something else. So that's why you'll never see, not never, because sometimes like a local, and this has really went away, but when we first started, sometimes a promoter might do it. They might put
try and sell out tickets or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but I never do it. Like if you see something like that, it's not because I put it in there. But at any rate, there's like this weird thin line between like trying to not be like that, but at the same time trying to acknowledge where you came from and that kind of thing. But anyways, there was a lot of negative at the end of that run. Things were falling apart. There was a lot of drug abuse. There was a lot of money misuse. And I was, again, still the whole time thinking I'm kind of a passenger in this deal. I'm in this other guy's band and I'm a passenger and I don't want to be a passenger. So it was weird at times for me, trying to not be the leader and like be the guy. So it was weird, but it was all worth it, of course. But yeah, at the end, I end up meeting Edsel Dope, and I have talked about this a good bit. And he encouraged me to start another project, and I started working with him. So really, this project was born between me and him talking and brainstorming and trying to figure out what we could start.
Gotcha. And then so I'm always very curious about names and stuff. What inspired the name?
It's and a lot of times when you ask bands about names, like Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor, he was like, it just looked good in print. The abbreviation was cool, didn't sound laughable, so we went with it. Korn's like doesn't mean anything. Cultus Black, it really means whatever you want it to mean. Like it doesn't have like a hard meaning to it. We wanted to do something that was kind of culty and dark. And so, cultus is Latin for cult. So this is kind of, sounds cool. And it wasn't taken. There was no other band called Cultus Black. I swear, if you Google just about any kind of name you can come up with, somebody's got it. Like it exists somewhere. And this one didn't. So that was a big deciding factor. I'm like, it's actually something not taken. So that's a plus.
Yeah. It's a lot different than Obsidian.
Yeah, Obsidian, everybody. That's like 400 million bands called Obsidian. I remember one time I was joking and like there was like some like cross-dressing strippers like walking out of a bingo hall. And me and my friends were sitting there and we were talking or whatever. And I was like, talking about band names. And I was like, there can't be I was like, what about cross-dressing stripper bingo or something like that? And I looked it up and it existed. I'm like, fuck, really? It's like, everything's taken. So that kind of plays a role there. But the symbol that we use is an alchemy symbol that is, it's kind of changed a little bit, but it's continuous fire or like a rebirth through flame. And so that's kind of, the way I was feeling when we're creating the project, because there was so much, I went through so much to get to this point, and there was just so much drama and I mean, that's what it felt like. This project felt like, being purified and reborn through flame. So, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. So that's the symbol that we use. The kind of like it's like a triangle and a half moon. And, but yeah, so that has meaning.
And how has that being able to finally fully express yourself in the project how you wanted to? How has that maybe changed your? I mean, your creative process is always kind of a certain way, but this time, I mean, it's all you. So how is that? What's that freedom like? You know?
Well, first of all, let me say, you know, I don't want to like take all the credit and say it's all me. It is largely my artistic direction and vision, and I have freedom to do what I want pretty much. But there's lots and lots of people that have been instrumental and helped along the way. And, you know, I got all my bandmates that have been fantastic. And, you know, I've got people outside of the band that I've known forever that have helped write music. Like my friend Wyatt, that was in one of my local bands back in the day, went and joined the military, and then we circled back around, and he helped write a lot of the guitar riffs and stuff for some of the Cultus Black stuff. Phenomenal guitarist. But yeah, so Jaden Frost with the visuals for music videos and stuff. Black Plate has been awesome with recording and all that kind of stuff. So lots and lots and lots of people are instrumental in and have helped this thing grow and be what it is. But as far as like my experience of having more artistic freedom, it's because it's kind of my thing. It's great. It's really, really good to be able to just basically do what I want to do and not have to worry about, you know, is this guy that's going to shut down everything that I want to do, you know, like, oh, I want to do this. Nope, can't do it. Doesn't fit what we've been doing, you know. If I want to try something new, I can, you know. So that's really cool, and it's kind of freeing in a way. I will say on the flip side of it, there's a catch 22 or however that saying goes for everything. There's two sides to everything, and you know, now because I am kind of that guy for this band, it's you wear so many hats, and it becomes exhausting because you're like, you got to be the business guy too, and you've got to run ads, and you've got to be, you know, the number cruncher, and you got to deal with the government for your LLC, and you got all these kinds of things that I don't like doing and are not really my strong points. And just, you know, you got to do it because nobody else is going to do it. But that it's like that part I don't like. And it's like I just want to create, you know, I just want to play shows and write music and create cool visuals, and you know, that's who I am and that's what I want to do. But then all these other necessities that come along with being in that role, you know, are very taxing and can be demotivating sometimes. You know, it's hard sometimes to really be creative when you're bogged down with all this other shit that you got to do. That it's like, I don't want to do this shit, but I don't have the money to pay somebody to do it, so I got to.
Yeah.
So it's you know.
But as time's gone on, you know, you guys have been able to build a good name for yourselves. I remember you played Inkcarceration Festival, I think last year, and you know, I have yet to see you guys live here in Cleveland, but I know you have a pretty good relationship or following here in Cleveland with people. How did that come together for you?
Well, I was just about to say I got to do some plugging in that case. I'm pretty sure we're going to be in Cleveland.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I got it. If you're looking for the date, October 4th.
Yeah,
At the Foundry. Yeah,
what is
yeah.
October 4th? Yep, the Foundry.
October 4th. Yeah, at the Foundry. Yep. You guys are going to be on the Autumn Horror Roadshow tour. Yep. And I Crossbreed's on the bill with you as well. I've had James on before.
Yeah, we love Crossbreed. That's one of the guys that I met along the way that has just been a good friend and super guy.
Yeah. So let's talk about your kind of like your relationship with the Cleveland area though.
We and it's I'm gonna talk kind of about Ohio at large because we've always done well in Ohio, period. Like um the first show that we did, and to be fair, I get mixed up with the names of towns and stuff within a state. But where is King of Clubs at? King of Clubs isn't
That's
in
Columbus.
Cleveland. It's in Columbus. That's right.
Columbus, yeah.
So the first show that we did that was like a really good show for us on tour with this band was at King of Clubs. And every show we've done there ever since has been really good. And we've developed a relationship with King of Clubs. But the first tour that we did as a band was with Head PE and Dropout Kings. And we rolled through there, and it's kind of funny. There's this whole, and I don't know who the guy was in the band. He was a local promoter, I guess, but fuck it, I'll tell the story. And I'm sidebarring a little bit, but it's related. We roll through, and it's us, Dropout Kings, and Head PE, and there's like 2 or 3 local bands. Well, when we got there, Jeremiah from Head PE is like, "Hey man, we got a problem, unfortunately. The promoters, one of the promoters band is on this bill, and they want to go on after you guys. They want you to go on before them, and they go on between you guys and Dropout Kings." And I was like, "Well, that feels a little off and disrespectful, doesn't it? Like we're on the tour package." And he's like, "Yeah, but he's the promoter, what are you going to do?" And like, all right, fuck it. We're just going to go out there and smash them, And so we went out there and killed it like we always do. And the crowd, there was a big crowd there, and they fucking loved us. It was our first time at King of Clubs, first time in Columbus, first time in Ohio, I think. And place was packed, and they fucking loved us, to the point that I always, when I get off stage, I go over and sign autographs and take pictures or whatever people want over at the merch table. So I went over and stood at the merch table while the promoters band went on, and they were, getting up on stage. There was a line all the way around the building for people to sign autographs with us and stuff. Nobody was watching their set. Everybody was in line to talk to us while they were playing. And the guy from the stage, he was like, I can't remember the exact verbiage he used, but he was like, "Man, let me tell you something. I think we fucked up. Don't ever fucking go on after Cultus Black. God damn." And I was like over there laughing. I was like, all right, I kind of respect that you said that, at least.
Yeah, I realized.
Made me feel good,
Yeah.
So that was like a whole thing. But that was like our first time at King of Clubs, first time in Ohio. But ever since then, we love King of Clubs. We love playing there, and we love playing in Ohio. We've played other venues in Ohio, and people fucking show up. I think that Ohio in general is just a really good metal, part of the country. The Midwest is notoriously good for metal. And so, yeah, I mean, we have definitely played out in Cleveland a few times, and we've got some friends that live out in Cleveland. And, there's a Killer's Confession, and, Waylon and all those guys, Mushroom Head too, we're buddies with some of them, and Ventana, and Raven Black recently moved out to Ohio. I can't remember what part of Ohio she's in. She may be in Cleveland, but yeah. So I mean, it's a really cool metal part of the country,
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, and it's like, yeah, I realize, like, a lot of the guys that you mentioned, I've been friends with for a number of years as well. And it's just like how many other bands outside the area that they've introduced me to or brought, into the area, that what's great is they maintain such positive relationships with those guys, like Crossbreed being another one.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
like a nice family and good support to have when you're putting tours together, rather be out on the road with people you get along with,
Absolutely, because I've been in both situations. I've been out with amazing bands that I get along with great, and I've been out with bands that just treat you like shit. So,
yeah. So, like, as I mentioned too, you guys had the opportunity to play Inkcarceration. What was what was that experience like for you guys? And did you get to? I mean, you've been out to Ohio a couple times. Did you get a chance to do the tour of the reformatory and stuff?
Yeah. Incarceration was fucking amazing. It was stressful because we've been trying to get on these festivals and into this festival circuit since day one, you know, and it took us like 4 years to get in. And but when we got in, we got that one, and we got Blue Ridge Rock Fest in Wisconsin, I think it is, back to back.
Or whatever, right?
Huh?
The Blue Ridge one, I think that was in Virginia or something, or West Virginia.
Oh no, I'm sorry, not Blue Ridge. Blue Ridge is in Virginia. I'm talking about
I was going to ask if you were there during that mess that happened at Blue Ridge.
Oh yeah, I was there for that actually. But the Rock Fest it's just called Rock Fest. It's in Wisconsin.
Okay,
And we got booked on both of those, like a Friday and a Saturday, with a 10-hour drive in between.
Oh man.
And so we were like had like an hour window to get, without sleeping or anything, to get to Ink on time. So that was stressful, but we got there. We even got pulled over too. On the way there, we got pulled over for having our like trailer lights were out. And the cop was like, I'm not going to let you go until you get that fixed. I'm going to follow you to Walmart or whatever. And so we went, and they didn't have the stuff that we needed. So we just strapped glow sticks to the back of the fucking trailer. The cop was gone by this time. So we're like, fuck it. We figured he was waiting for us. We took like a long route, but we did. We just put glow sticks on the back of the trailer to simulate lighting. But either way, we made it. And it was fantastic. It was like, we didn't know what to expect because we were going on early. And this is when we met Vampires Everywhere too, because Vampires Everywhere went on right after us. We've done 2 tours with them since this festival. But we met them at Ink. They went on right after us, but we didn't know what to expect going on so early. It was a sea of people. I have no idea how many people were there, but it had to be 10,000 or more. Like it was, I could not see the end of the people. And I don't know if that's partially because just the main bands hadn't started yet and like people were still coming in, but it was crazy. So, you know, and we tried to seize the day there and put on as good a performance as we could. And we got nothing but positive comments from everybody working the stage, the fans, everybody. So I'm hoping we'll be asked back. We didn't get asked back this year, but I know a lot of times they kind of rotate every other year. So I'm really, really hoping they'll have us back in 2026.
Nice. And then so back to the current tour, Autumn Horror Road show. Like what's what can the fans expect if they haven't seen you guys yet? Why should they come out?
Well, I mean, if you like metal music and you like, you know, bands that are intense and have a lot of energy and, you know, passion, then you would probably like our show. Because that's, you know, I believe wholeheartedly that giving people what they paid for, you know, and giving them their money's worth. And that if you go into a show, you're going to see something, to have some sort of interaction and to get something more than just hearing the music. So like we really try to put on a really good show, lots of energy, lots of visual, lots of, you know, interaction. And then after the show, I always go, and some of the guys will, as they get time from moving gear. We always talk to the fans. We sign things. So, you know, I feel like if you like this kind of music, our show is a great one to go to. I also think it's good for this time of year because we are a bunch of fucking weirdos and we're all painted up and masked up, and there's a certain kind of vibe that we bring that goes right along with the Halloween season in October, which is part of this whole thing. So if you want something to do that's going to kind of get you in the mood for Halloween spooky season, I think it's good for that too.
Yeah, I agree. And then any plans after this tour wraps up? Are you guys in the process of writing any new material?
Oh yeah, we've been writing new stuff, and it's been a long, arduous process. But everything throughout my life and throughout this band's life has come very difficultly, with lots of struggle, and this is no different. So, the album, we had lots of delays with it, but it came out, and we went on tour with Static X on that album. It was huge. So this will be no different. It's taken a little bit longer than we wanted it to, but when it comes out, I think people will like it. We are working on an EP right now. So we got 6 songs that are in various stages of completion. So I don't know that we're going to be able to release anything new this year. I might release something, or do something for the fans, maybe a live thing or something. But probably no new music this year. But I would fully expect to see new music from us next year for sure.
Nice. And then before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you some of the questions I normally ask my guests that I have on here. And I haven't got to ask this one in a little while, but we were kind of touching on it a little bit before we started recording. Favorite wrestler?
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean that one's appropriate, right? My favorite wrestler, because of I grew up in the '90s, and Bret Hart was my favorite wrestler, and through the years, I feel like it's been proven to me even more why he was my favorite wrestler, because he's just been right about so many things. But as far as like the politics and stuff from the wrestling business, but I also was a big Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. Love Stone Cold. Macho Man here was fucking fantastic. If you want to go back a little bit further to the '80s, and he was around a little bit in the '90s, but mostly '80s. But yeah, those are definitely 3 of my tops.
Nice.
And Ric Flair, even though Ric Flair is kind of fucking gone completely insane in recent years, but still, he was the man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I when I was growing up, it was like I was a Hulkamaniac as a little kid, and then as I started hitting puberty, it was Nature Boy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then
and he's from North Carolina, so.
Yeah, you're in Flair country, so nice. But and then like you mentioned, Bret Hart and Stone Cold, man, it's just like still to this day, one of my favorite matches was the WrestleMania match where Ken Shamrock refereed.
That match is so good.
It's so great how they were able to, just tell the story and turn both of them, during that process.
Yeah, I mean that whole feud was just fantastic. Like, being young in that period of time and watching that, and like it was just so good. Like they seemed to hate each other so much. Know, like it was a really, really good feud.
Yeah, for sure. And then favorite toy as a child?
Jesus, like a specific one, or like a genre, like a specific toy?
I mean, what was something that, even if it was in part of like a collectible thing, what was like one of your go-to favorites?
Well, I was a big Ninja Turtles fan, I was a big X-Men fan, and I was a big Transformers fan. I also like G.I. Joe, but those were really like the 3 that I was really, really the most into. So I don't know. It's hard to say like one in particular. There was one thing that I really wanted when I was a kid that I never really got, that I have now. He's in a box down here because I haven't had room to really put him together. But Devastator, the Transformer. He's a combiner.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that one was, I just thought he was so fucking cool. So that's one of them for sure. My favorite Ninja Turtle was Donatello. But
nice. Yeah, I wore long sleeves for this interview, unfortunately, but not that you'd be able to see it well anyway. But my first tattoo I ever got was Wolverine, the yellow and blue uniform they had.
Oh yeah, Wolverine was my favorite X-Men. I was trying to look around and see if I don't think I have my X-Men stuff's in the other room, but I have a couple of Wolverine things because he was my favorite X-Men.
Yeah, for sure. And then, who are three people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Wow, that's a deep one. Oh man, I got to put Edsel Dope in there for sure. Because for as far as my music career goes, he was very, very instrumental in that. I'm gonna throw my grandmother in there, even though she didn't know what she was starting. She started me singing. She did not like me doing this kind of music. It's devil's music to her, you know. She's like Southern Baptist, you know. But posthumously, I'll include her in that because she did start me singing. Period. And I don't know, like a third one is difficult.
Yeah, it's always tough to.
Yeah, to only do three because there's so many people that have, you know, along the way. I guess I'll switch gears and I'll go with like the business side of things. My boss Mark, he's not really my boss. He's kind of like a because I'm a bit of an entrepreneur, and he's helped me with that a lot. So I'll throw him in there for something that's not related to music at all to kind of break from the music stuff.
Nice, nice. And then any message you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
Oh man, try to stay safe. Try not to get killed. I don't know. Not to get started on politics because Jesus Christ, but our country is so divided. And it's really, it's sad to me. You know, I'm not an adamant Democrat or Republican. Like I have always been kind of in the middle, and I've always thought it was kind of silly the way people like fight each other, like their family and friends about politics. Like it's fine for people to have difference of opinion, you know? Like
yeah, exactly.
Like you can argue about something and still be
friends.
friends.
Like mentality, you know?
You can argue about something and still be friends. You can argue about something and still be family. You know, we don't all always see eye to eye, but it's so visceral and so hateful and so divided right now. It's, I don't know, it's disheartening.
Yeah.
So, and you know, as far as like he's talking about military that's overseas and stuff, I don't know how connected they are to what's going on in the country. I imagine they have to be to some degree, but I would think it's got to be disheartening for them too, you know.
Oh yeah.
To be trying to represent a country and then the country is at war with itself back home, you know. So I don't know. The whole thing is sad.
No, I agree, man. I'm retired Navy and just yeah, dude, it breaks my heart. And it's like I served so everybody had a voice. There's a lot of things people say that I don't agree with that just like, you know, or I'll see posts from friends, you know, in the music scene and stuff, or even family members, like you said. But I can just scroll by because I value the relationship more than I value the things that separate us, you know. At the core, we have things that connect us, you know, and I don't want to let emotions that I think are purposely being played with, you know, with all of us right now.
I agree.
Manipulated and stuff. I try not to let that affect the bigger picture. I think if, you know, I'm one of those people that, hey, they don't want us all getting along. If we all came together and found our common ground, you think they'd be, you know, pulling the crap they're pulling every day? But yeah, I don't want to go on that either.
No, we're on the same page though. I have felt like for a long time, and even more so now, that yeah, I mean, they preach and say that they want equality and everybody to be together and to get along, and but at the same time they're talking out of both sides of their mouth and, you know, pushing propaganda and trying to keep us separate, you know, along just about any line that they can find to keep us separate.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a good way to control a population. You know, I mean, and that's not a new thing. I mean, that's been happening for as long as civilization's been a thing.
Oh,
So
yeah. The playbook hasn't changed much. Just the people, I guess, paying attention to it has. We got so many more distractions these days,
Oh yeah.
But sometimes, you need some positive distractions, So hopefully this interview will be a positive distraction out there for some of the Cultus Black fans.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I hope that our music is as well, and these shows. Hopefully, it's a place where everybody can come together and enjoy a thing, and let all the other shit at the door.
Like I kind of see, what we're talking about right now a little bit with the face paint too. I mean, you're bringing together I mean, I'm not talking about race or anything, but it's just there's the dark and the light, the white and the black, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's combining. You're just bringing us all together. So I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking stuff, but
It reminds me of a Seinfeld episode, and I've said this about my paint before because I don't always do this, but just whatever. I do different things. Sometimes I do red, but do you remember the Seinfeld episode where they're in the cafe or whatever, and he's trying to get the black and white cookie?
No.
And he's like, it's stupid, but he's just like, I don't remember how they got off on it, but he's talking about race relations or whatever. And he's like, all we have to do is look to the cookie. Just look to the cookie, black and white together. It's dumb, but
nice. Well, hey man, it's been great talking with you. Once again, anything for any fans out there that might be new to even hearing about you guys and want to follow the tour and follow new music and whatever, where would you send them?
Well, you can find us anywhere, really. We're not very present on X. I need to work on that, and TikTok too. I'm running all this shit, and it's hard to keep up. But we're definitely on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We are on TikTok and all that stuff. I just don't keep up with it that much. But you can go to our website, which is cultusblack.com, and find all of our stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, I come from the age of when I used to book shows here in Cleveland of, just cutting out band logos, going up to Kinko's and making my flyers and posting them out. All this social media crap I got to do today. I'm a 52-year-old man, damn it. I ain't going to do any TikTok dancing and shit like that to promote the podcast, but what it is.
We're still doing the feet on the ground, boots on the ground, passing out flyer stuff. We've got people in every state that we're going to pretty much with flyers, putting them up and passing them out and stuff. And I've been doing it here in North Carolina because we have the one stop in North Carolina. So we're still doing that because I still think it works. We do it online too, but seeing somebody and putting something in their hand and talking to them, I think still works.
Oh yeah, 100%. But all right, man. Well, hey, it was great talking with you, and everybody in the Cleveland area, go check them out at the Foundry, October 4th.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me, and hopefully we'll see you. Will we see you out there? Will we see you at the show?
It's my daughter's birthday, but I'm going to try and see what I can balance.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I understand. Bring her out to the show.
Yeah. I made her go to some shows before on her birthday, but
you can have a party during the day, and then you can go to our
exactly. But all right, man. Good talking with you.
All righty. Thank you very much. See you later.
Bye.
All right. Listen up. Hold on to your seats. Grab your girls. Grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.